Alright, Beep, let's do this. First thing first, the name LUI. Secondly, the game. It is the game of bodybuilding. Thirdly, 1993, Mr. Olympia, revisited by the LUI years and years after. This was a milestone of Mr. Olympia, a very game changer of this game of bodybuilding. Why? Because we have the advent, the very birth of the mass era, aka the dinosaur era, this big fauna who is still reigning supreme until today. Because of who? Because of the guy in the center. Now you might tell me Dorian Yates was already Miss Olympia, so there's no change, but there is a change because prior to this, it was Helsinki actually, 1992, and he was a normal human being. He was a normal bodybuilder and mainstream for that matter. He was aesthetic, right? But here actually he came in 257, the biggest ever, and he ushered a biggest era. Needless to say, he placed first. Second was the sculptural Flex Wheeler, and thirdly was Sean Ray. So let's take a look at this real close with today prism actually to try to analyze these guys of yesteryears, baby, please. Back double biceps, right? I mean, Dorian Yates was known to have one of the craziest back. He was following the footsteps of the ex-Mr. Olympia, Lee Haney, who was also winning by the back. So he ushered the back era. As a matter of fact, it started more or less in 1990, in 1983 by Samir Bannout, who also had a tremendous back. So the back makes you or breaks you, and with the back, he was absolutely the very dominator of that game. But as I said, with today's prism, in a sense, looking by today's metrics, you can still see that he was still ahead of Flex Wheeler. The Achilles heel, actually, of Flex Wheeler is not really the back. The back was okay, although the lower back was not that loyal. But his Achilles here is here in the center, actually. The tie-ins, I mean, the very separation between the glutes and the hamstring was not that impressive. They were not peeled, and compared to Dorian Yates and even Sean Ray, it shows. So for that, I'm sorry, I will place, in this pose at least, Sean Ray even ahead of him because his glutes were absolutely peeled. Now granted, 1993, it was somehow of a rare sight to see those peeled glutes because people were coming from Lee Haney's era. Lee Haney's era, nobody was showing the glutes except a guy called Richard Gaspari, more or less. Everybody else had pretty much fat glutes by today's standards. So that's what's up. Flex was not good in that department. Proceed, shall we? Alright, so abs and thighs. I mean, I do remember reading that in a French magazine of old, Muscle and Fitness, the French version, and they were saying Flex Wheeler in this pose looked sculptural, meaning like a freaking sculpture, and sculpture he was. Dorian was good too. I mean, you cannot dink Dorian in this pose. Both look very, very good, and for a mass master, he got it right. What I like about Flex Wheeler though, it is the striations, the feathers he had on those quads. They were an absolute sight to be saluted. And I like him more. He's more pleasing. Let's be honest, right? Proceed, shall we though? Front double biceps, baby, please. This was somehow of a last hurrah, the last song of Lee Labrada. He placed number 4th in this Mr. Olympia, but you can see he was already outclassed. He looked already old in a sense, like an old era, but there is a new breed coming. The very muscularity of Flex Wheeler just looks better, more pleasing. We have Sean Ray, who placed 3rd there, rocking a vacuum. He was one of the last of the Mohicans rocking that vacuum, joined a year later in 1994 by Chris Cormier. But in Mr. Olympia, in this one, he was absolutely repping solid. Now, Flex Wheeler, he was coming from actually 2 wins. Back in the day, we had a competition called Ironman. He won it. His pro debut, if I do recall. And he won also the Arnold Classic. Now, debatably, the Arnold Classic, he was even better. He was more conditioned. But nonetheless, in Mr. Olympia, he was still good. Look at that. I mean, it looks just proper. As a matter of fact, Dorian Yates, when he was describing basically Flex Wheeler in his very British accent and British way, He was saying this guy looks like a freaking caricature. And caricature he was. Little brother, as I said, placed fourth in my reckoning. He does not deserve it. He was pretty much outclassed. A lot of people were expecting him to be the next Mr. Olympia because he was placed in second to Lee Haney. But I'm sorry, man. He was just outclassed. There's a new breed coming, and they deserved a higher spotting. On the back, a little of a bubble trouble gut. That is Flavio Bacciani, the smallest guy on stage back then. Right? He placed number 13, by the way. Proceed, shall we? Another guy actually who came back actually from the ages actually. He was rocking. He was doing battle versus Arnold Schwarzenegger, if you guys recall, in 1975 in South Africa. A guy who placed third back then, right? Ahead of him was, of course, actually he placed second. Sorry about that. Not deservedly. He should have been at least third. Ahead of him was, of course, Arnold Schwarzenegger. And Serge Nubret placed third. Serge should have been second. Anyway, next to Miloš Sarcev. Can you imagine? He beated Miloš Sarcev. How he did, I don't know. In my opinion, it was all politics. Miloš deserves a higher place. And so Miloš pressed number 11 and they gave number 10 with a paycheck of $5,000 to Lou Ferrigno. Absolutely not to be actually saluted. A guy next to him, I don't recall him. Probably it is Al Gurley, if I'm not mistaken. It was a guy with a blue eyes, in a sense, just like the current Mr. Olympia, Phil Heath. But proceed, shall we, bro? Dorian Yates. I mean, he brought the shape, believe me, guys. Like 3 weeks prior to Mr. Olympia, there were those black and white photos, black and white pictures. Good lord, they shocked us. They published those like 3 or 4 of them on Flex magazine, and wow, never did we see that. I mean, back in the day, there's no freaking internet, bro. There was magazines. We saw them. He was so massive, 269 pounds. He was so massive. He said probably, bro, I'm too big. I need to shut off. So he came in at 257 on stage to not shock everybody, but he was still big. He was still the biggest dude on that stage. So it ushered the mass monster era. It is 1993, a very pivotal Mr. Olympia. Back lat spread. Remove the name back lat spread. Name it Dorianesque. Back lat spread. He was killing everybody. In the 90s, bro, there was a dude called David Dirth. He was a blonde, good-looking, solid bodybuilder. He said, bro, even if you put me in a freaking elevator with Dorian Yates with all the weaponry, I cannot kill him. The guy is just too good. He is ahead of us. And again, look at the very details of the peeled glutes and the separation with the hemis. Baby, please, absolutely different level. He brought, something big. I do recall I was buying supplements at a store. I think it was 1996. Guys were debating this guy. They were saying, bro, okay, Nasser looks big, Flex looks like this, but when you approach Dorian Yates, he has a different type of conditioning, the very pepper thin, conditioning. He had it, so he brought that mass, crazy mass with very good conditioning. Very hard to beat. He was ahead of his game in that time. And of course, he was rocking one of the craziest calves alongside the late Mike Matarazzo, who was competing in this competition, placed number 18, right? Proceed, shall we? Paul Delette, place number 6, is a mass monster. As a matter of fact, in the magazine, if I do recall, 1993, he said, "Welcome abroad, guys, because you became big. I was big before you." Indeed, he was big before Dorian Yates, but he doesn't have the credentials to win. He is a mass monster. When he stands on his own, or he stands like this, relaxed, he looks just huge. But when he starts to pose, weaknesses show. And sure enough, he placed number 6 in that Mr. Olympia. Kevin the Cat Levroni. They called him the Cat back then, but it disappeared after a while. I don't know. They called him afterwards like the Maryland Machine. Anyway, Maryland Machine As you guys can see, there's a small imbalance. Why? He had a pack tear. He destroyed his pack actually back then. He was number 2 actually. The year before he was doing battle for the top position in Helsinki. But here, since he was coming from an injuries, maybe please, they gave him number 5. He was soft. He was not conditioned. I mean, you know, injury is a big deal, especially in the chest, right? Afterwards, it did not show. Proceed, shall we, though. From the back, you can see Kevin Lavroni definitely looking softer than the previous year in Helsinki. My fellow Canadian, Paul Dillette, actually, as I said, he has some weaknesses, right? I think he has some scoliosis, maybe please, also on his back. So it was detrimental. And pretty much one of probably the last Miss Olympia of Lee Lebrada. He was looking absolutely softer than the year before. And then the old days of the 80s, really please, right? And deservedly so. Okay, most muscular pose of Dorian Yates. I don't like him when he does this kind of crab pose. Does not suit him well, but he was doing it. He did it again in 1995 next to Nasser El Sambadi, and Nasser just smoked him. Believe me, he did not do it again after he was next to Nasser El Sambadi. 283 pounds of granite next to you. It changes your mind. I can't even tell you that much, bruh. Proceed. Haha, shall we, bro? Front of the biceps, I mean, flex, different level. Just aesthetically pleasing, just good. Sultan of symmetry. The Sultan actually is an Arabic word called Sultan, which means pretty much prince or a king. Pretty much the master, the very master of symmetry, and symmetry, believe me, he had. He was next to his quote-unquote friend, Sean Ray. Now, this guy right here pressured the IFBB actually in 1997 to do some radio testing on his calves. Because in 1996, Mr. Olympia, he said, bro, he has calves implants. So he pressured IFBB to do test on his quote-unquote friend, basically Flex Wheeler. And Flex Wheeler nicknamed him Shauna. Not Sean, but Shauna. Because he was talking a lot according to him. But then again, proceed, shall we? This pose suits Dorian Yates better when it comes to the most muscular. You can notice that his biceps was still intact. It was not damaged as of yet. Level of conditioning was absolutely superior. The chest was not the biggest, but it was conditioned, peeled everywhere. Dude was further a freaking 2% body fat. Look at the cheekbone. He was bringing those freaking, crazy condition. He was saying, bro, I am too diced on stage. I am too diced. He was having trouble walking. His feet were hurting because the fat cushion in his feet was gone. He was running on pretty much bones, bruh. Back double bicepses. We have seen this already. Charles Claremont from Great Britain. Very underrated guy. Very underrated. They gave him number 7. In my opinion, he should have been in front of Paul Dillette, in front of Lee Lebrada, and even of Lavroni. He was not conditioned that year, but he was underrated. One of the crazy. You know why? Because he was coming from a different federation. This guy was the champion, the number 1 of a different federation. When he came to IFBB, it's not good for you to come and beat our guys, right? So he was absolutely underrated as hell, right? Not a very good picture because they're quite scarce, but you can see basically the 2 top guys that were definitely deserving that. I mean, Flex was very good. Unfortunately, he made an accident afterwards, but that's what's up. Charway, he was good too. I mean, yeah, in this position, as I said, I have him ahead even of Flex Wheeler because of the down section. Even though the upstairs, the bellies are not there genetically, have like small delts and so on, but he was bringing a good proper condition, and he was doing battle versus Dorian Yates in that department, right? Bellies, baby, please, of Flex, absolutely to be saluted. The upper, actually 3/4 of the back are absolutely amazing. He had one weakness though. I did not find a picture. He did not know how to do, or it sucked. The back lat spread, it sucked. It was not looking good for whatever reason, reminiscent of freaking Kai Green of today. But then again, in the glutes, you can clearly see, even though the quality of the picture is not to be saluted, he was absolutely being smoked by the Shadow Yates and also Sean Ray. There's no doubt about it. Again, they brought these monsters actually to do battle. They're all like the biggest guy on stage. They brought Lou Ferrigno. People were saying he was weighing 300 pounds. I don't think so. They brought Jurassic Paul, the lad, probably at 270. And the very conditioned, the most conditioned of them all, Mr. Olympia, Dorian Yates. You can see two different eras collided. Dorian was absolutely harder looking, more granity, solid. This is the look that basically was dominating afterwards. Deservedly so, right? Front, let's spread, until today when you read magazine and you see a guy doing this pose properly, they write Dorian-esque. This pose looked Dorian-esque, meaning reminiscent of Dorian Yates. There is one guy who does it like this in our era. My friend actually, Josh the koala hybrid from down under Australia, knows how to do this freaking pose. But again, the granity look of Arnold is a sight, to be saluted, proper. Again, from the back, solid, hard to beat. Come on, guys, hard to beat. Until today, this pose is pretty much a take-home pose. He was smoking everybody with it, pretty much. All right, you can see that this was the last year of Lila Brada. He had to go. He got old. He was bringing the 80s era. But then again, next to these newcomers, this new breed, new blood, he had no choice. They gave him number 4, not deservedly so. Right? Again, two major pose. Absolutely to be saluted. They got it both good. May they rest in peace, both of them, these guys on the back. Both of them passed away. Sonny Schmidt passed away, actually. I think it was from cancer. And Mr. Mike Matarazzo passed away after a long battle with some heart issues, right? May they both rest in peace. The two guys up front, though, marvelous pose. This is a poster pose, absolutely to be actually saluted. Marvelous. Again, the same pose right there. The midsection, wow. Flex, wow. And even Dorian, they have that solid. I loved that Mr. Olympia. I loved it. I was like freaking, I don't know, 17 years old back then. I do reminisce. Proper, the two, the contrast between the biggest guy on stage, Lou Ferrigno, and the smallest one, Flavio Baccianini. They gave him number 13. Both were old, though, coming from yesteryears, baby, please. Proper. When it comes to Mr. Mike Matarazzo, they gave him number 18 back then. Number 18. All right. Again, front posture pose that we have saw. Flex Wheeler, just marvelous. That's why until today they say this guy is one of the best looking guy when it comes to just pleasing to the eye. He was and still is a very milestone in that department. Again, Dorian Yates was calling him. He was saying that he is like a caricature. If you imagine a caricature of exaggerated bellies and sweeps, kind of peaks, this guy had it. He was just better, genetically superior. This guy here next to him, Sean Ray, knew that. He knew that he was genetically superior, so he was attacking him with mental games in magazines, successfully so, because Flex Wheeler actually one day around 2 a.m. he was about to go to his house, to the house of Sean Ray, to kick his ass. He confessed to that lately. Thank God he did not do it, because Flex Wheeler, who was a real OG. Salute you wherever you is on a daily basis, and tell me what your thought is. Don't forget to subscribe to the LUI for further content. God bless you all day and daily, bro. Proper.